Hello, and thank you for joining the Champion Within podcast, your premier go-to spot for unlocking your winning mindset. Whether you're an athlete looking to elevate your game to the next level, a coach leading the charge, an enthusiastic parent cheering from the sidelines, or an educator molding young minds, the Champion Within podcast episodes are packed with value, sharing the tools and strategies to unlock your potential and rise to new heights. Hosted by mentor, coach, and mindset leader Kate McCauley. Let's sit back and enjoy today's episode while discovering your champion within. And now, here's Kate.
Hey, champions. Thanks for coming back and hanging out with us on the Champion Within podcast. You know that I am very picky about who I allow to come on the podcast. In the beginning, I'll admit I was trying to figure out who do I even want to talk to on this podcast. I get a lot of emails and I start taking a deep dive into who would be really cool to hear from, people that you could learn from, selfishly people I know that I would love to hear their story. That is exactly what I think we're going to get today. Let me tell you who we're talking to. I have Andy Whittier with me today. He is a current USA skeleton athlete going into his 5th season. He played D1 football for Idaho State University. He has also coached high school football, and I believe track, I might have heard you help out. Is that true?
Very briefly, yeah.
Very briefly. Okay. High school football for 5 years. Today, we are going to learn about his journey, hopefully some mindset that you can steal for yourselves. Andy, how are you today?
Kate, thank you for having me on here, especially kind of knowing the people that you have on your podcast. So thank you for that. No bad days is kind of what I tell people. My day's going great. Just started, just finished breakfast. Can only go up from here too.
I love it. Let's start with that. On your Instagram, and I listened to a couple podcasts that you've already been on, no bad days is something that is, I want to say maybe your slogan or you use a lot. I want you to go in a little bit deeper with that because I heard you say something about it doesn't mean toxic positivity that every day is perfect. So tell our listeners, what do you mean by no bad days?
Yeah. So this is kind of something I stumbled upon probably later in my collegiate life and then a lot more into my adult life, let's say. It would really hit me as a third-party view. I would see things happen to people, and let's say it happened in the morning, right? You get your coffee, you go to your car, and it spills, and you're like, the whole day is just down from there, right? They come to work mad, they're mad at the people they're helping, now they're taking that anger out on their family when they get home, and you wasted a whole 24 hours, right? And I was like, man, I don't understand how people can live like with that much negativity kind of circulating around them. I'm a big believer in what you put out is what you get back to. And don't get me wrong. You spill that cup of coffee, like, man, you were looking forward to it. But you're like, well, now this next 5 minutes is not going to be great. Maybe it's on you. Maybe it's in your car, whatever it might be. And so it kind of really showed in my mind of like, yeah, you can have bad moments, but don't let one small moment detract from your entire day, right? Life is way too precious to lose out on an entire day of what could be joy and happiness for a 1 minute thing of unhappiness. So that's kind of where that comes from, is like accepted, like, okay, my 5 minutes, like I grieved, I'm over it. How much better can the day get?
What a great mindset to not only have for yourself, but to share with other people. When I was a teacher, I used to tell my students, you can restart your day at any moment. And I would be honest with them and kind of give that coffee example or something that happened with my own kids on the way to work that day. I might have restarted my day 4 times, before talking with that particular class. Sometimes they would look at me like, what? But it is true. What you focus on becomes your reality. You can decide to change your day and say, this is just a moment, not my whole day. So I love that. I want to talk with you about the journey. First, before we even get to how you got here, I did some research, but tell my audience, what is a skeleton athlete?
Yes, glad you asked. So I'm going to kind of go down the easiest route that I've learned to explain this to people when I'm talking with them. Skeleton is a winter Olympic sport. So I compete for the USA, like you mentioned. Most people have heard of luge, where people go feet first. Most everyone has seen Cool Runnings and know what bobsledding is. And you're obviously in a sled with your teammates going downhill. Skeleton is the third iteration of this sport, where we're a solo athlete and we're going down head first on a sled, basically a cookie sheet with runners on it, and that's it. we're doing 83 to 89 miles an hour, pulling between 4 and 6 Gs, depending on the track, and just chasing speed. So in a nutshell, we're doing what bobsled and luge do, but we're going head first and chasing speed the same way down an icy water slide is like what I like to tell people.
That's exactly how I would describe it. I did look at some of your videos. I was on Instagram checking some things out. You shared some with me as well via email. You really got to have a mindset to be able to jump on that sled. It's got to be something that you have to get into the flow, I would assume. Is there any techniques that maybe you learned along the way or you currently use to help you get your head in the right space?
Yeah. So the flow state is absolutely a huge part of what we do, right? Because it's going to be, each track is different. So it's going to be 48 seconds to 1 minute of pure adrenaline, right? And as we all know, we've felt adrenaline and we've felt the adrenaline dump, right? It's a huge wave to try and control. So being in that flow state, the thing that has helped me a ton, kind of built into last year and I'm taking into this season as well, is the 3 things I tell myself at the top of a track is 1, run, let it run, because we have to start in a sprinter stance. 2, relax and trust it. The sled knows what it wants to do. Just help it along the way. And then 3, nothing else matters except this one run right here. Not my bills, not my friends, not my family. For the next 50 seconds, this is the only thing in my life that matters, and it's going to get 100% of my attention.
That's amazing. And for my listeners, you can steal those things from Andy. Obviously, you're going to change the words a little bit for yourself to align for your sport, school, work, whatever it is. I think it's so important to have that self-talk. Do you say that to yourself on repeat? I know you said when you get to the top. Is that something that you have practiced and you just kind of repeat almost like an affirmation type thing?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in self-affirmations. Starting my coaching career, I heard a lot of people talk negatively about themselves, like, I should have made this play. I wish I could do this. I want to do this. I'm like, okay, start telling yourself you're going to do those things, right? And so, yeah, like you said, I don't just say that like on race day. I say that at the beginning of every run is what we call them. So when I'm at the top of the track, whether it's practice or a race, I'm saying those 3 things to me, and that's all that matters because I need to be in that moment, all for myself, all for this run, to make sure I take care of business, to put myself in the best position possible to have a successful run, because we only get to take about 3 or 4 a day. So we're only training on ice for 2 to 4 minutes a day.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even realize that in my stalking. Before I even go back to how we got here, I want to tell every athlete that I work with, I get to work with a lot of different people. I'm very grateful, from the high school level to collegiate and some pros. I want you to go back and rewind what Andy just said, because I tell them all the time, this is not just game day or competition that you're going to say these words to yourself. I tell them to look in the mirror, they're becoming it. And I loved hearing you say that you do this before practice. You do this before you compete. It's just who you are. You say these words. The athletes look at me like, okay, but it really can change your brain so that you start showing up as that person. If you feels awkward in the beginning, if you don't have these self-talk moments, but it can, as you know, change your brain. I want to take it back to when you were little. Did you even know what a skeleton athlete was? And what were you playing when you were a young athlete?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the cool things just about skeleton and bobsled in general for our world is we are all secondhand athletes. We all come after playing collegiate sports and kind of the pro opportunity dwindles away from our future. We kind of jump into this world if it opens up to us. So as a kid, I had zero clue what was going on.
Right.
Growing up in a single parent household, my mom told me, hey, we don't have money to play all the campfire sports like baseball, soccer, football, basketball, all that stuff. Turned 10 years old, can finally start playing tackle football. And like, you get to choose one sport. And I'm in love with football. So that's what I chose, right? I was a one sport athlete. I don't encourage that. I encourage sport. Kids, if possible, play as many sports as possible. I was very thankful to get put on a team with great friends, a great coaching staff, and a great mentor as well. And so that kind of carried me from Little League football through high school and then into my collegiate career. And at no point did I even think I was even going to go play college football until like late into my senior year of high school. But kind of have that transition even pop up later in life showed me that you're not done being an athlete. I'm a late bloomer anyway. So I was like, all right, well, this opportunity is here as well. Fell in love with football. All I cared about was being around my team, being around my friends, doing my best to help all of us win a championship together, and then let the cards kind of fall where they would afterwards.
Okay.
And after committing to a Division III school in Illinois and learning really quick that wasn't for me, I actually withdrew the second day of class and flew home. I was like, well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, this is a part of the story not many people know about. I flew home because I wasn't recruited from Idaho State at all at the time, and they're our local university. I kind of thought my football career was over, right? This is back in 2014, so 2013, 2014, where online recruiting and the social media hadn't quite taken hold yet, because that's a super easy way to get recruited now. And I was just very unfamiliar with the process. So I was like, well, I guess that's it for my athletic career. So I worked that first semester, 2015, and then started going to Idaho State in the spring of 2015. And one of my friends told me, he's like, hey, I'm going to do a walk-on tryout for ISU. I was like, I think somebody's pulling your leg, dude. I don't think college is just let kids walk on and try out. That doesn't,
right.
I've never heard of that. So I was like, whatever, dude, put me in touch with the coaches and I'll come do it with you. Because what's one tryout? Like, I either make it or I don't. No, my world's not going to change.
Right.
So he puts me in touch with Coach Troxel, Coach Cooper at the time. They give me the dates, show up here, be prepared for a mini pro day. So we're going to run a 40-yard dash, a short shuttle. We'll do a vertical jump test and a bench press at 225, like a very small NFL pro day.
Okay.
And then they'll look at your highlight film. But the night before, I texted my friend. I was like, hey, are you ready for tomorrow? Are you going to come? He's like, nah, I don't think so. I was like, this was your idea. What do you mean?
Oh, wow. He didn't go.
No, he didn't go. And like, I was like, whatever. Like, I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So I still go. I run my fastest 40 at the time. Back then, had a really great short shuttle. And like I said, I was a late bloomer. So my birthday's in May. So I'm barely 18 at this time.
Okay.
And bench press at 225 at that time for me was like, I had a 3-rep max, and like a struggling 3 reps.
Okay.
Like I was like 160 soaking wet. And in my mind, that's not what it takes to play Division I football.
Sure.
I was like, all right, 40 time is good. Short shuttle's good. Bench press is going to look very under the table. But my vertical jump will kind of be an equalizer, and then we'll let them decide on film. And then they said, hey, we're not going to do a vertical jump test. I was like, well, this has been a fun afternoon. Like,
right.
checked out of my mind.
Thanks
I
for
did
having me.
Yeah, that's what went through my mind. And sent them my athletic tape. And then they called me the next day. And they're like, hey, we'd like you to come back. You were the only one actually invited out of everyone that tried out, about 20, 30 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, morning weight starts Monday, 6 a.m. Be here. And this is kind of where it hit me. There's a big difference from training by yourself in a local gym to training back as a team on a football, like as a football team. And I'll tell you what, about 30 minutes into that workout, I was outside spilling my guts. And I was like, man, it's either this moment I go back inside or I walk away forever. So I go back inside. And I didn't tell anybody at this point either. I told my 2 best friends I was hanging out with at the time. I was like, hey, guys, I'm doing this. I've made the team so far for this spring, but they could cut me. It's spring ball. That's kind of how the process rolls.
Right.
I hadn't told anybody because I didn't want to get people's hopes up and be like, oh, my gosh, this cool thing is happening, right? Waited till after spring ball, waited actually until the following fall that like I actually played in some games. And I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Things are looking up.
By the way, I'm on the team.
Yeah, kind of like that. Like a post on social media of like, hey, this is what I'm doing now.
Right.
And so fast forward 2 years, I earn a scholarship going into my junior year, earn a bunch of academic and athletic accolades. We help turn our team around from bottom of the conference to a playoff contender and a Big Sky contender for the championship. The more I look back on it, the more I talk about it and stuff now, the very humbling thing to come from nothing and the team was down in the dumps and be a part of a class and part of a group of players and men that helped change a program around.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Just built around hard work and honestly trusting and believing in each other and like, hey, none of us are leaving. Times are bad, but we're not going to leave. We're going to get this ship turned around together.
Yeah.
And we did. And it's cool to see the program continue to rise.
I love so much of this whole story, and I hope I can pull out pieces and A lot of times my conversations go in so many directions. I want to go all the way back when you were talking about 10 and your mom said you could, sign up for something. You gave a shout out to coaches. That doesn't always happen when somebody now, you're in the Olympics, you've gone through college, you're further along in your life, where you actually mentioned that 10-year-old coach who I would assume is a volunteer coach at the time. What was standing out or is still standing out to you about that coach? And you're welcome to give them a shout out if you want, but why does that come up for you? What do you remember?
Yeah, his name is Dave Spillett. His oldest son, Mason, is actually one of my best friends. So we were on the team together. He was our head coach. And he was kind of the father figure I needed in my life at that time. And sticking with him and the program and the way he coaches definitely resonated with me and how I needed to be raised, basically, from Little League, right? Playing for him for 4 years. And then we followed him to high school as well. So he was our head coach for 4 years of high school also.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so the connection just gets deeper. You build the family values, and that's what we care about the most. And then, like I said, go to college. He's still coaching and everything for the high school. Get out of college. And then you mentioned I coached for 5 years high school football. So then normal transition, start my career. I'm going to join his staff and bring those same values that he instilled in me and all of us into the next generation of players as well. Because one of the big things that we harped on, obviously I probably didn't understand it much as a kid, but understanding it more as an adult and being able to pass the message on of the wins and losses will come and go, but what we care about is developing good men, good husbands, good fathers. We do those things for the young athletes, the wins will come.
Andy, I am obsessed with this coach, and I love this full circle moment that you came back to be on the staff. That's got to be so incredibly cool for the coach to see that happen. And I'm sure he's, rooting for you now as you train in the Olympics. Really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that. And, I want to also give a shout out to your mom because it's not easy, being a single parent, and sometimes you have to pick. We can't do all these things. And I'm sure that there's a lot of times where things aren't as easy as we would like them to be. So shout out to her as well. I'm really thankful that you're willing to share those things because I know a lot of my athletes I work with and people who listen to the show, even if, we've never met before, they could be in a similar situation that you're in. I got to ask, you went to school, to the D3 school, 2 days, and you decide to come home. Was there just I don't like the vibe here. I'm not feeling it. I'm homesick. What happened in 2 days? Yeah,
it was so I went there for our fall camp. So I was there for 3 weeks total. But I withdrew.
Okay, so this was before the school semester started.
Yeah. So I was there for 3 weeks, day 2 of class. And I was like, this isn't for me. There were a couple things that happened. One, like I said, it was just my mom and I at the time. So I get there. It's a huge culture shock for me anyways, coming from the Mountain West over into the plains of Illinois. That's on me. Young 18-year-old, not knowing what I'm doing too. So one of those is for sure me. The other one is something happened with my roommate in the RA, and I'm just not about that type of life. And so I don't want to be associated with that.
Enough said. I gotcha.
Yeah, right. Another thing happened with a couple teammates. I'm a very upfront, blunt person. You don't talk about women this way. So I made sure the women understood that this is what's happening. He wanted to have some exchanges with me. I said, I don't do that. I'm a pacifist. I'm not about this type of life either. I was like, this just isn't the environment for me.
Good for you.
Hey, Coach, does any of this sound familiar? Your athletes are talented, but they lose focus when the pressure's on. Confidence swings up and down from game to game. Some play tight and second guess themselves. They struggle to reset after mistakes. Think about it. How many games or competitions have you lost, not because the other team was better, but because your athletes got in their own heads? Every coach has seen it. The missed free throw, the strikeout, the dropped pass, not from lack of skill, but from lack of mindset. That's why I created the Champion Within programs, to bring tools that will help unlock peak performance for your athletes. It's also why I lead team workshops on visualization, breath work, and mental skills training to take these conversations off the podcast and bring it to your team. I do this in person and virtually. Imagine your athletes learning how to bounce back faster, handle pressure with confidence, and step into the game mentally sharp and ready. That's the difference mindset training makes. If you're ready to give your team that edge, let's talk. Go down to the show notes after the show and set up a call to see how I can help your athletes win from the inside out.
That takes a lot of growth to say this isn't for me as an 18-year-old. And I'm so glad you really shared that story, because I have a sophomore in college. I have a senior in high school. The oldest is my son. My daughter's the middle. And then I have a freshman in high school. And when we're looking at colleges, I feel like I'm saying it on repeat to them, whether it's looking online, if we've gone to a couple visits and they're athletes. And I say, the cool part about college is they go to a public school here. So we're kind of like, this is where you go because this is where you live. I said, the cool part about college is if you don't love this, and I'm serious, if you're there and you're like, well, I'm just going through the motions, you don't have to stay. And so many people, I get it. It's a big decision. You don't want to say, we're going to flip flop and go different places. But if you're not happy, you can transfer, we'll figure it out. And at first I think they were like, looking at me like I was crazy because, they're 17, 18 years old. You don't even really know what makes you happy at a college campus. So thank you for sharing that story. And thank you for standing up for what you believe in. I think that's important to remind people to do that.
One of my big things is if you don't have the morals that you're going to stand for, you're just a blob doing nothing out there. Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So then you take a chance and you're hearing about this spring ball thing, and the guy you were supposed to go with, one of your friends, doesn't end up going. I know you said you didn't tell many people. Was he one of your close friends that you said, oh, I actually made this team?
No, we were teammates and everything in high school.
Okay.
Stuff like that, but he wasn't one of the close people I was hanging out with at the time.
That knew about it. Okay. Yeah. All right, cool.
Knew about it, but I don't think I ever explicitly said hey, I made the team. You could.
Gotcha. I was just curious. So many people see opportunities, and sometimes they've actually done studies on this, that it happens with women more than men, that when you have to check the box, do you meet all the criteria, that most women will actually say, I'm not going to do that. I don't meet all the criteria. When you were thinking to yourself, well, you know what, I can do some of I'm going to just take the chance and do it. We don't know what'll happen. And I love the mentality where you were like, well, it could be an afternoon where I'm just seeing what happens here and I get a workout. And then it led to an amazing opportunity. So I want to encourage people who are listening. If something seems like, wow, maybe I want to try that, you got to take action. That's where you build the confidence.
Yes. One of the things that goes through my mind, when I reflect back on stuff like this, is you see it in movies a lot more, right? You have a character asks their grandparents or older relative or anything, what's life advice you wish you would have gotten? And it's generally the same answer. I don't live your life with the regrets of thinking, what if, right? Like you said, just go do it. If you don't think you can do it, you've already accepted no for an answer. But if it does happen in your favor, now you've got a new great adventure ahead of you, and you're never going to live that what if feeling.
Yeah, so true. I often say to people I work with and myself, I have to remind myself, if not this, something better. You never know. And I feel like your skeleton journey, you maybe thought it was the bobsled team. I'm not sure when you were headed there first. And then it ended up being something so different. Let's talk about that moment where you're like, wow, I'm actually a skeleton athlete for the USA team. I'm sure there was many things leading up to that. What does that feel like, a moment where you're like, wow, this is reality for me?
Yeah. Let's kind of go back to how this transition happened, right? Finish out my collegiate career. Everybody wants to go play NFL, CFL, right? Go to the next level. Have my pro day in March. Do great. Have a couple tryouts for the Canadian Football League. Nothing pans out. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's the end. I start let's call it our normal career life, right? I go start working for a local credit union called Lookout Credit Union. I start my coaching career, like I mentioned. Then I'm like, I still have the itch. I'm late athletically blooming. What could be out there? I don't know what to do. I'm doing the normal thing, 9 to 5 coaching. I got the next 20 years of my life set up. Super cush, super easy. I'm scrolling through social media one day, and I come across an ad on Facebook that says, USA bobsled skeleton tryout. I was like, okay, seems like a scam, but
Right. Is this real?
Yeah, I know. Like in my first thought, like the tangent thought is, well, to be an Olympian, your mom or your dad or both of them had to also be Olympians, and then they had a baby, and that was kind of how the process in my brain worked. I didn't think they just took people across the country to do these things. So I click onto it. I go down the wormhole of it, and I'd seen Cool Runnings, like I mentioned, knew what bobsled was. I was like, cool. Looked up what skeleton was, and I was like, that's insane. Why would anyone actually do that, right? So my first thought was, like, I'm not doing skeleton. I send in my pro day numbers. I send them in on Saturday, email on Sunday, phone call on Monday, and a month later, I'm here in Park City, about to learn the sport. And I had a conversation with the coach at the time, and he was like, yeah, so you're going to do skeleton. And I was like, I don't really know. He's like, you're not big enough to do bobsled. And I was like, okay. Story of my life. Been told that.
Right.
And for reference, our bobsledders are like 220, 225, just tanks of humans. So vastly different than the way I'm built. And it makes sense. So we get up here, and they're like, all right, I'm going to put you halfway up the track. You're going to lay on a sled, and we're just going to push you down. Just see if you even like it first, right? Mm-hmm. And you go down that first run, and you're in curve 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth. And you're like, I'm laying there, and I'm thinking, what life decisions have I made that have led me to
How did I end up here?
Yeah. And so obviously we do that. We move up to curve 2, 3 a day and a half later. We're going faster. We're feeling some real G forces on us, feeling some speed. And then 2 days later, we're at the top of the track. We're not running yet because that's a whole different skill set, but they're pushing us, just broom pushing us down the track. And now we're feeling like mid 70s. Now we're feeling some speed. And I'm like, oh, I like this. They like me. I get invited back for another camp. Okay. And that's just kind of how it works is you get invited to these rookie camps and development camps, and eventually you start earning some race spots. And it's once you earn that first race spot and you put on that speed suit that says USA and you're wearing the stars and stripes and you're like, oh, I'm on a real path now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then it just kind of from there takes off.
Yeah. That's really cool. A lot of times it's like we were saying with the opportunity to go try out for spring ball. You see this opportunity and you just take a chance. Let's see what happens here. We almost feel like this is too good to be true. It's happened with me. I left teaching after 20 years. I was teacher, coach, and then starting my business. And so many times people will reach out to me for a lot of different things that I do. And I'm like, is this real? Is this real? I get to go to this company and speak to them, and I get to, work with this team. As you continue to do it, I really do find myself getting in the flow state as well within my work. And you're just like so grateful for it. When you are training, or I guess even before you get to say, yes, you're on the team, you go to these 2 weeks camps, you get, invited back, and then you have to go to different races. How do you work? I feel like Olympic athletes are paying their own way, right? So tell us about that.
100%. I'm glad you brought that up. Most, I'm going to say the high majority of USA Olympic hopefuls or Olympic athletes are self-funded athletes. And so in the beginning of this sport, they don't really kind of tell you that. Because like I said, no one really knows much about this. Then you get here, and it's not bad in the beginning because you're really only coming to Lake Placid or coming to Park City, the 2 tracks we have in the United States. 2-week camp here, go back home, work for 2 weeks or a month. Kind of go back and forth like that. But then once you start moving up the circuits, now some real costs come, right? Because now the season starts from October until the end of March. We are competing. That means you're either going to be North American Cup, the European Cup, or the World Cup. And now you are flying, traveling, training at different times of the day, different time zones across the planet. I say this to everybody, if you have a job that allows you to work remote and they love you and they're supporting you, keep those guys in mind because they're going to be supported, right? But then for a lot of us, it's just working summer jobs to try and save up 20, 30 grand to try and make it through the season.
Right, so you can eat and survive.
Yeah. Exactly. A lot of us rely on sponsors. Thankfully, I'm from a small town, so the small town supports me a ton. So I'm very thankful for the sponsors I do have and the community backing me. Eventually, once you work up into our different ranks that we call them, then you can start earning stipends. It's not a ton, but it's enough to like help you get through. So
Gotcha.
yeah, the job part is an interesting balancing act. Like I said, I had 20 years of my life planned out, right? Coaching, credit union, work up, become the VP, CEO, whatever, right? I
Mm-hmm.
gave all of that up for
Yeah.
the unknown world of, hey, don't know where your next paycheck's going to come from. So
Right. Big risk.
it's
But
huge.
yeah. So, like you said, though, you don't want to be that old guy, grandpop.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's asking you questions and you say, I wish I would have done that. And listen, my listeners, you don't necessarily have to say, well, I'm going to go be in the Olympics. Maybe it's something on a smaller level that you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, I really love when I'm doing this, that, or the other thing. What can I do to put that into my life? You had said something, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, but after you were done high school and the pro day opportunities just didn't pan out, I really think there's that loss of identity as an athlete. I've worked with people, even my own children, I remind them, listen, when you stop playing, it happened to me, and I'm nowhere near your D1 level. You have this sense of loss. You're always with your coaches and your teammates. So being able to find something to fill that void, would you say that was part of why you saw that Facebook feed and went? You were like, I really am just competitive. And you mentioned the late blooming thing, which I think is something we should highlight as well.
Yeah, definitely the late blooming thing had a lot to do with it. Just the drive of like, I feel like I've got a lot left in me. I need to find the next thing to fill that void. And I kind of said this during my early years of skeleton is I would love to see, and I hope universities are doing this more, that identity crisis from all sports of all athletes, because that's what a lot of those kids have been doing since the time they're 5 years old until they're 22. Yeah. That's all they've known for 17 years. And then it's like, hey, real world, goodbye, good luck. We got our profit as a university out of you.
Right.
There's not a good transition or anything like that. At least there wasn't back in my day. So that's something I would love to see universities help student athletes with who
very important.
Didn't work a ton in college or in high school. Like kudos to them, scholarships and stuff like that. But now it's the real world and people aren't paying your bills. You're paying your bills. So
exactly. I mean, it's a big shift, and it's something that you have to learn to navigate through. When my son stopped playing basketball, I had encouraged him. I said, maybe you want to do something within the sport, because of the work I do, I'm a little more familiar with it. And he ended up refereeing and doing some things and coaching a little bit. So I've said this to my daughter, who's a senior. She is a 3-sport track. So she's cross country, winter, and spring. She is with these track athletes all year long in the summer. I mean, school ends and they get like one day and then they're back at preseason for cross country. And she doesn't want to run in college, which is fine. But this is going to be a big change, and same with those athletes who are at the university level. I'm actually having things float through my brain right now. Some universities that I get to work with saying, maybe we should do a workshop just on that.
Yeah.
Navigating that shift in identity, because not everybody is going to go try out for a pro team or an Olympic team. And some of them, just going to be honest, aren't good enough to even do some of those things. And not that they're not good athletes, but it's going to be a different life.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I like to think about it too, is like, it doesn't have to be athletics that you fall in love with after your collegiate career or whatever is done. It can be a family life. It can be a hobby, right? Like, it doesn't just have to be sports. And I think that's a big thing. Maybe we don't tell our athletes because that, like you said, is their whole identity. But hey, being a mom, being a dad is an amazing thing. Finding out what you like, painting, music, whatever it may be, writing, whatever it is, give that your all. See if you really enjoy that. Maybe that's your new little outlet. And I think stuff like that can be huge.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to bring up, because honestly, myself as an athlete, sometimes you don't have time for some of those things. So now it's a new opportunity where you could say, wow, maybe I do want to try writing. Or when you get into the job, maybe there's some opportunities for you to volunteer different things and family life. I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't even think of that when I was just having all these thoughts through my brain. I want to talk to you about the process of getting your head in the right place now that you are training for the Winter Olympics.
Yes.
Do you have, and I know it would be different depending on who's listening, but do you have any routines that you do either daily or practice day? Or I know you shared the self-talk. Is there anything else that you do to get yourself in the right headspace?
Yeah, I'm a big routine guy. I feel like a lot of athletes kind of are. So the day before or the morning of sliding, if we slide in the afternoon, is the way I pack my bag. I pack it the same way every day. So that way, and then I make sure my sled is set. So that way, when the time comes, I load the car, specific order. I get to the track. I put my sled where it goes. I put my bag down, and then I can unpack it in the order of my warm up, right? So now there's nothing out of place. I'm not questioning where is this? What is this? What do I do with this extra amount of time? I've got my warm up on my phone that is down to the minute of when I slide. So everything is the same every day. So keeping that same routine and mentality every day from practice, like we mentioned earlier, to race day allows me to stay locked in, as we say. So everything feels normal, right? So it's not like, oh my gosh, what am I doing on race day? Like, how do I make this different? Because you don't want anything surprising coming up. You want the normal path to success, or what has found you success. So stuff like that has really helped me. And then the night before sliding, I'll do about 10 minutes of mind runs. And that's just, we talk about visualization in all sports. It doesn't end at any level. And so just in my bed, just at night, just just going through the track or wherever we're at, prepping my mind. So when I'm in the track, I don't have to think about it. I can just breathe in, breathe out, and let it flow.
All right, Andy. I don't know if you listened to any of my episodes. It's okay if you didn't, but I'm obsessed with visualization. It's what I teach. I have used it with my son. My youngest guy has a uniquely beautiful brain, ADHD, auditory processing, dyslexia. I used it, all these tools, breath work, visualization. I think, did you say a mind run?
Yes.
Yeah. So I love that you said that. That was an amazing way to explain it. So I've used it for him first. And then when I left my teaching career, I quite literally used it for myself, really not even knowing that I was doing these things as I was a coach for basketball when I played sports. I'm curious, did someone teach you how to do that? Or is this something that you were just doing, kind of like running this through your mind? I know you make it a routine each night, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but did someone teach you how to do that? Or is this something that has just been a part of you as an athlete?
I think it's been a part of me as an athlete, because I remember doing it like in high school and in college of like, hey, we've studied film. I know what's coming. Here's what I need to do to go make my play. Here's what I need to do to be successful in my job, to make sure our defense runs according to plan. But it's definitely been something I've done for the last, 12 years, however long I've been an athlete.
Right. Okay. Cool.
And then a lot more now. So in this world, because of, like I said, we only get 2 to 4 minutes of training on the ice per day. And we can dive into that too.
Yeah.
And so the other times where I'm just laying on my sled doing the mind runs, that's where the extra training comes in.
When I've talked to so many different athletes, professional lacrosse players, tennis players, some former Olympic athletes, you're actually my first one who's currently training right now. So I love that I have you on the show. All of them, I hope I'm not wrong, I might have to go check some episodes, but most of them definitely had said to me, yeah, I was just doing this visualization type stuff, but not calling it visualization. I was just doing it. And what people don't realize is we are all doing it at some degree. When you're watching film as an athlete, even when you go back to spilling that coffee, if you're not an athlete, if you start saying, well, what else is going to go wrong today? This is probably going to happen. You are actually visualizing right there and setting yourself up, and your brain will look for things to prove you right. So when you're saying, oh, now I spilled the coffee and now I'm going to be late, this is going to happen. Well, your brain is going to want to keep you safe and make those things a reality. They may not look exactly the way you're saying it or thinking it, but they're going to look pretty similar. Where on the flip side, if you decide to say, all right, this is just one moment, moving on, no bad days, your brain will prove you right there. So when you're doing the mind runs, or when you're looking at film, for anyone, if you're in a corporate space, when you're watching and thinking of yourself going through that presentation, this is all visualization out. You can do it on a deeper level when I train people so that they do outcome visualization, failure visualization. So if something goes wrong, I think it's important to note that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? You only have a couple minutes on that track to run through the practice of it. Now, you said when you're not on there, the mind runs, they've done studies on this. When people are injured or, they're just only having a short amount of time to work out, that your brain is literally changing the neural pathways. So do you spend time as a team or as an individual doing that? So that I know you said at night, which is actually one of the best times you can do it. Do you spend time together individually? How do you put that into the practice?
Yeah, so we'll still train as a team. Like we'll slide together, we'll lift weights together, sprints and all of that. But then after that, it's kind of on your own, right?
Okay.
So just because I'm going to have a different run, like if we're teammates, I'm going to have a completely different run than you. And
Sure.
So everybody kind of knows the lines they want to take. Now it's just putting it from up here into the physical world. And not everyone wants to do it at the same time. So that's why we all kind of do it on our own time.
Makes sense. Really cool. I'm curious, do you ever do a failure type of visualization or mind run where if something goes wrong, you see yourself correcting it? Is that something, and maybe not even with the skeleton, or do you do that in any other area of your life?
Yeah, I think that's also important because our world is separated by centimeters and inches, like one left or right, and you have a totally different corner than what you're thinking. And so planning for those of like, hey, if I go in here, I need to know how to correct it to come out still going fast. So yeah, you still want to plan for the what ifs. We kind of call it an A and B scenario. A scenario, I'm going to hit every line perfect. B scenario, I'm early here or I'm late here. How am I going to handle that situation? So just as important as it is of only focusing on the perfect, how can I correct it if I'm off by just a little bit?
Yeah, really cool. And again, my athletes are listening. We are talking about this all of the time. I think sometimes they're like, this is woo-woo, because it's hard to see inside of your brain that those neural pathways are changing. But it's always cool when someone comes back to me and says, I've been doing these visualizations with you, and I hope they keep doing them on their own. Actually, I encourage them to do them before bed and different times. But they'll say to me, it wasn't exactly what I saw, but it was so close, and it came into my brain like I've been here before. So I don't have that performance anxiety where I'm super stressed about competing. I've already been here. Things are going to change. Life is going to life. There's going to be setbacks, mistakes, and you have to also train your brain how you're going to push through to that next level. Before I go to the end of the conversation here, I really wanted to drop it earlier, and I'll put it in the show notes. Could you tell people how they could connect with you? Maybe there's somebody who's listening right now has a product and maybe they want to sponsor you, or maybe it's just people want to connect with you in general to follow the journey. Where's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, the best two places. I share everything on Instagram. So just Andy_Whittier_. I keep all the podcasts on there. I keep sliding updates on there. And that kind of gives you a real dive into the world of what we're doing, where we're at training in the world, and then kind of the process of what it looks like to get to the Olympics and become an Olympic hopeful. And then the other place is my website, also just my name, just andywhittier.com. I also keep that updated.
Okay. Very cool. And for my listeners, I will drop that right in the show notes. So you can just go down there, click on the show notes, the links, and it'll take you right to those places so they can find you easily. I wanted to ask one more question, which is actually a 3-part question before I go to my last signature question. You have had some really cool experiences, and I would love for you to give advice to 3 different people that could be listening right now. You've been a high school athlete, you've been a high school coach. So that group, what would you say to those high schoolers? And it can be related to anything, mindset, the journey, whatever comes to mind. The second one would be someone who is deciding where to go to college, since you had to make some tough decisions and shift, and then you ended up in a place that was a good fit for you. And then third, maybe there's someone who's thinking about, I really might want to try this Olympic thing. So 3 different pieces of advice, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for the high schoolers, I think it's just enjoy as much time as you can with your friends and family during those 4 years, because those, it's going to sound weird, those are going to be the easiest 4 years of your life, right? Trust your teachers, do a good job. They know what's best for you. Same with your coaches and same with your parents. They all have the experience, plenty of it. Trust those guys that they have the right intentions for you. For the seniors and people deciding on college, I think we kind of touched on it as well. Go to some place that you are actually happy. You don't feel like you're going through the motions. You enjoy the people you are around with. There's no drama. There's no other people you have to worry about. You find clubs and organizations to be a part of. You enjoy the community as well as the university. I think that's a huge portion of it.
Very true.
And then the last one, for people that are interested in coming and checking out our world of bobsled and skeleton, going to start here. The 2 tracks we have are in Lake Placid, New York, where the 1980 Olympics were held. And then here in Park City, Utah, just on the other side of the mountain from Salt Lake City. 2002 games were here. And then the 2034 games are coming back here. And if you're looking into getting into the sport, you can check out our federation website, which is usabs.com. It goes over a whole bunch of things, athletes, how to get involved, coaches, tracks, stuff like that.
Very cool. Thank you for all those groups. And every piece of that advice is something that people can connect with no matter what they're doing. So I appreciate that. All right. Well, I could talk with you forever. You have a really cool journey. Thank you for sharing it. But I'm going to jump to my last question. I know you're a busy guy. We got to get those mind runs in and get to practice. And if you were the main character in a movie titled The Champion Within, we're watching the movie and something happens, the screen cuts to black. What is the audience screaming, hashtagging, hoping that you will do next?
That I'll do next. I think for me, I was kind of thinking about this when you sent this in the email. I'm going to start with my goal. My goal is to bring back the Olympic medals to the United States. That's my number one goal. So 2034, where I intend to retire my career, what I envision for this question of yours is on the last race day, I'm running the track, I'm coming through the finish curve, and as it's fading to black, you just see the crowd start to go crazy. Doesn't show a time, doesn't show a placement, but it kind of leaves you on the edge of it happened.
That's amazing. I'm here for it, and I hope that everyone who is listening right now goes and follows the journey. You got to keep us updated. That is really cool. I love that answer. And thank you so much for hanging out with us today and sharing your journey, your wisdom. I learned a lot, and I know my audience is going to be probably taking notes, hopefully rewinding and listening to some of the things that you shared. Thank you, Andy, for hanging out with us today.
Of course, Kate. Thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. All right, champions, thanks for hanging out with us. And I want you to go make some decision right now that you are going to be 1% better, just 1%, and have an amazing rest of your week.
Thank you for hanging out with Kate today. And whether you're going to coach, teach, cheer from the sidelines, or hitting the field yourself, remember, mindset is everything. Don't forget to follow the show for the latest episodes, as we all need a little extra motivation, humor, and sanity in our busy lives. Now, go and unleash your champion within you, one step at a time. We're always rooting for you.